Living in Alaska, my two favorite things to do are fly my drones and wildlife photography. But there is nothing more that bothers me than seeing people post videos of them flying their drone and harassing the wildlife. And in this video, I'm going to tell you why that's not only unethical, but it's also probably illegal, and it could be very deadly. I'm also going to show you a few ways you can safely fly your drone near animals without harassing them. Before we begin, my name is Kris Luckenbach. I'm a wildlife photographer here in beautiful Kodiak Island, Alaska, home of the world's largest brown bear subspecies. And I make videos like this to help you learn about wildlife, maybe some drone stuff, or just to show my beautiful home of Kodiak Island. And if that's something you want to see more of, consider subscribing to the channel for future content. Alright, so the first thing we want to understand is how a drone can disturb wildlife. Well, being too close can not only make an animal scared, it will likely alter their behavior. It can go from hunting or eating, and it can run away from their nest or fly away from their nest, like if there's birds on the ground. It can leave an animal hungry. It can leave an egg or a little eaglet or a little baby bird vulnerable for predators to attack and kill. So that is why you don't want to alter behavior. There are some other risks that you have to understand when it comes to altering animals' behavior. And for example, living here on Kodiak Island, when I first moved here, I saw a bear out in the distance. It was my first bear that I've seen living here. This is almost a decade ago now. And I noticed that right away the bear got nervous, and I was still a few hundred feet, or probably couple hundred yards away from the bear, and the bear just changed direction, and he kind of like took off in a small sprint. And right there I was like, okay, I don't want to do that. That's pretty dangerous. And fast forward a couple years to last year, I was in Nome, Alaska with some muskox, and I was with some other wildlife photography friends, and we spent a few hours getting really close to these muskox. And when I say getting close, basically we get in a position and we let the muskox or animals get close to us. We're not beelining animals. We're not walking straight towards the animals. We are just kind of sitting around, chatting around with friends, and letting the animals get close to us. So after a few hours, we're photographing them, and then out of nowhere, these kind of like muskox started like doing this herd thing. And I look up, and here comes this guy with a drone from way out on the street, right up onto these muskox, and these things are starting to get nervous. Well, I got really scared, and it was probably one of the most scared moments I've been as a wildlife photographer, because muskox are really big. They're like the size of bison, if not a little bigger, and a lot more majestic looking. But those things will charge, and they will kill you, because those things are big bulldozers with legs, and you do not want to alter an animal's behavior, especially when there's people down there in the area. It could be photographers, it could be hikers, hunters, fishermen. We were being ethical, we were being in a safe place, and we felt really comfortable until that drone came out. When the drone came, we kind of backed away slowly, because we did not want to get bulldozed by these big, huge muskox. Bigger animals, they can be definitely, scary and dangerous and deadly when you're flying a drone near them if you change their behavior. Let's talk about smaller animals like birds. Not only can you make a bird nervous or scared, but you can make a bird abandon its nest or abandon its eggs that it's got, or some eaglets or something. And what that's going to do is not only, make the bird scared, maybe it will never come back to the nest. Maybe another animal will take advantage of that bird leaving their nest and go after that bird. It's not just eagles sitting in trees. Like, a lot of birds nest on the beach and stuff. So just flying your drone at a beach, if you notice a bunch of birds fly away, it's time to back off, because they could be nesting, and that is something you do not want to disturb when you are flying your drone. And obviously people have seen those videos of an eagle or a hawk chasing down someone's drone, taking it out of the sky, destroying their drone. And not only are you putting a bird at risk because you're scaring it, but you're also putting an expensive object in the air at risk. If there's people below, that drone could fall on someone. Like, these are things you really need to think about. And sometimes when you're a beginner, you might be perceived as, well, everyone's just jealous that I'm getting these shots. It's not about that. It's really about being an ethical human being and not disturbing wildlife. And you know, another thing that you can think about is you might be the one that's in the way of an animal that's fleeing away from your drone. You might be the only direction that animal felt safe to run towards, and you might just be looking at your drone and then boom, you get bulldozed by a muskox or a bear. Really be careful. And then one other animal that is very, very common to fly is obviously whales. People get whale footage all the time, and I have a lot of opinions on that. There is actually a rule by NOAA. It is called the Marine Mammal Protection Act, and technically you're supposed to be 1,000 feet away from a whale with a drone. I personally think that's ridiculous and excessive. I think 200 feet is a really good number. You're not really too close, and if you're right on top of a whale, like I've seen people like I was taking photos of orcas, and this guy's drone was right on top of the orca. Orca wasn't changing its behavior or anything, but if they want to breach or if they want to go after a sea lion or something, you might be preventing that with your drone just hovering right up top. I personally think 200 feet is a good rule for whales. A few animals you might not think about that are covered under the Marine Mammal Protection Act, the biggest one being polar bears and also other animals like sea otters, sea lions, and seals. So something to think about: whales, bears, sea lions, seals. They are all covered under the Marine Mammal Protection Act. I think it's time we change that. I think it should be 200 feet, but that's a whole other topic. I'm just trying to give you the best possible, knowledge so you can make safer and more ethical decisions flying your drone. So yes, we've seen that drones can physically make animals kind of nervous and scared and run away. Sometimes it's not even seeing visibly. Sometimes the drone could just increase the heart rate, and that is kind of altering the behavior of wildlife. Now, how would you know that? You really wouldn't, but it is something to be aware of. So maybe it's best to ask yourself, is the shot even worth it? So that's a few ways that, a drone can alter an animal's behavior and how it can be deadly for some people. And before I tell you a few ways you can safely film animals with a drone, I just want to say one thing. If you are using a drone for hunting in Alaska, it is highly illegal. Fish and Game and the state troopers will pursue you, and legal action. They will fine you, possibly even jail time. You can't even fly in for a moose hunt and shoot the moose the same day that you landed. You have to wait a full day. Really do not use a drone for hunting in Alaska. I don't know other state laws, but in Alaska it is highly illegal, and don't even bring a drone with you when you're going hunting. Alright, so let's talk about a few ways you could safely fly a drone. Now, there are some times you might not even be aware of an animal. You might just be flying, getting a nice shot, and then a bird flies by or something. There's really nothing you could do about that except just stop flying, let the bird get away from you, or just you personally get away from the bird. And where I live in Kodiak Island, sometimes there's hundreds, if not thousands, of bald eagles downtown at the harbor, and they are actually lazy scavengers. They're just trying to get fish off the fishing boats, and I've flown the drone and they don't even care about the drone. Their eyes are just locked in on those boats waiting for some fish to come out. It's one of those things you really have to make a ethical decision. Are you changing the animal's behavior or not? So how do we notice this? We can just obviously watch the animal, and if you are going to purposely try to get some footage of an animal, I highly recommend, in fact, I almost think it's required to have a drone with at least this Mavic 4 Pro here, which has a 6X, which is a 168 millimeter lens, which is still pretty close to animals if you want to get a good shot. A lot of footage that I see with a drone of wildlife that's harassing the wildlife, it's not even good footage, so the shot's not even worth it. You're just causing stress to an animal because you think it's fun. Or the reason why I'm making this video, you just might be completely unaware. Keep a distance from them. Use a drone that has a long lens. If you're going to slowly get close to it, just really pay attention. The second the animal kind of looks at the drone, changes direction, stops what it's doing, it's time to back off. And, there could be nobody around and you could do whatever you want. I can't tell you what to do or what not to do. But especially if there are people hiking, hunting, photographing, do not push your limits, because it can be lethal and you will be held responsible for causing that animal to change its behavior and maybe even alter someone's life. Another thing that you have to think about is sometimes you could just get a nice drone shot of a landscape that happens to have an animal in it, and you don't have to be right up the animal's butt. Like, you can just still get a nice shot without being close to the animal, and not only are you being ethical, but you're getting a nice shot that you could post online that people might like, and you're proving that you're not harassing an animal. It's just like guns in the United States. Drones, if they are used bad, everyone will be punished. Person doing it will probably not even be punished. Everyone else will probably be punished, and they'll try to change drone laws. So you might get your 15 minutes of horrible fame by posting a horrible video of you changing an animal's behavior, and not only are you going to be called out for it, everyone in the world might be called out for drones, because there's always someone trying to ban something in today's world. So hopefully you learned something in this video. If you want to see more of Alaska, subscribe to the channel, like the video if you learned anything. And before I go, if you guys are new to wildlife photography, new to wildlife videography, I do have an ultimate wildlife masterclass that you could check in the description. You learn everything about wildlife photography, videography, Adobe Premiere Pro, Lightroom, and Photoshop tutorials, as well as how to be an ethical wildlife photographer and other things like marketing, and even a shutter speed cheat sheet so you never get a blurry shot again of a bird or an animal. If you guys want to learn more about me, I'm going to leave you with this video right here, day in my life as a wildlife photographer. I found a dead whale and photographed it. So thanks for watching. Bye.